I'm Anthony Wright, and I am your co-host today on Attunement and the Living Conversation with my co-host,
Adam Dietz. Welcome.
And we have a guest, and our guest is Nick Egan. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And you are an executive coach, but you were also a student at the California Institute of Integral Studies under Stephen Goodman, who was the Tibetan Buddhist scholar. So, do you speak Tibetan?
That's true. I can muddle some Tibetan. It was mostly classical Tibetan, so my reading is better than my speaking.
Okay.
Even now, I'm quite out of practice.
Yeah, but and my other question first is: have you ever been in the presence of His Holiness?
I have. Yeah, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Yeah.
Oh, that's extraordinary.
I got a chance to meet him when I was.
Oh, you did personally? Wow.
Yeah,
what an incredible energy of a human being.
Yeah, he is definitely a guiding light to the world for sure.
And if I'm not, am I correct in understanding that he's the reincarnation of Avalokitesvara?
Yeah, so yes, that's correct. So Avalokitesvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, he is considered to be an incarnation. So we can get into the technicalities of it. In Buddhism, though,
I'm just curious.
A Bodhisattva would be at that level, so like a high level Bodhisattva, he'd be considered like an emanation. Mm. So he's the reincarnation of previous Dalai Lamas. He's an emanation of that Bodhisattva.
Oh, okay. That's very useful. Well, anyway, so you're an executive coach, and you use I'm reading your bio, the deep understanding of positive psychology and Buddhist philosophy to encourage personal and organizational growth. Tell us about, first of all, how did you come to executive coaching?
So my undergrad was in psychology, and I thought I would become something of a therapist. And at the time, I was really interested in the understanding of the mind, how the mind worked. Uh-huh. And I became a bit jaded with at least the psychological principles that were given to me through that kind of cohort, not to say all of it, not the field in general. And so from there, I decided, I don't want to become a therapist. I want to just study what I've been practicing. So I started practicing Dharma from a very young age, from the time I was 16.
Oh, wow.
As a master, and then later under a Tibetan teacher. And so then I thought, well, I'll go study, philosophy and religion, did that for master's, and then obviously like Buddhism was my chosen area, so then studied Indo-Tibetan Buddhism for PhD, did fieldwork in Nepal and all of that stuff.
Wow.
And then somebody came along and said, actually it was a friend of mine, had a coaching session. I had heard about coaching, just like life coaching, executive coaching. This was a long time ago, 10 plus years ago. And she was giving away free sessions, this lady. She was an ad executive out of Chicago. Session a bit arrogant and thinking like, well, I've been meditating for 20 years. I have all these academic degrees and stuff. But in the session, I thought, like a huge light bulb went off, and thought that's exactly the kind of method that I wanted to be practicing. And so I did the same training that she did. And then from there, if you can kind of speak fluent business, you oftentimes get tracked into the executive coaching. Like coaching is just coaching, like therapy is just therapy, but there's different modalities. So these days, mostly what I work with is either founders, entrepreneurs, or oftentimes corporate.
So you do a Dokusan with executives.
What's that?
You do Dokusan with executives.
Yeah, maybe not quite as impactful, but yeah.
Well, but I mean, that's so interesting that I'm learning how to speak business myself and going through an MBA program, and it's really different, and I'm finding that the business terms in English are really laden with certain limiting structures. So, for example, the idea of cost. Well, wait, it's an outlay. Well, it's going to cost you. Well, wow, there's a lot of baggage on this stuff. So, what would you say that many of the coach, and particularly in these times, what many of the coaching clients are finding troubling?
So, usually, my clients, depending on what they're doing, they struggle with things like delegation, things like letting go.
Delegation.
Responsibilities. So
Okay.
delegation. So if you're a high performing individual contributor or high performing at a certain level, and then all of a sudden you get ramped up to, let's say you're running a team of 15 people, and
Right.
now you have to run a team of people that's running a team of 150 people.
Surprise!
You
Yeah.
have to have a mindset shift.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
a lot of the work that I do is mindset shifts, but it's kind of it's hidden in the guise of strategic discussions. So first we talk strategy, then we talk tactics, but then at the heart of it, it's mindset, which is where the understanding of Buddhism, I think, comes in. At least on the Tibetan side of things, there's a really strong tradition around Lojong, which means like mind training, and it would be considered more like, what's that?
The name of it is called Lojong?
Lojong.
Lojong. Okay.
Lo meaning mind, and Jong like training.
Okay.
And it's like reflective analysis. So it's not meditation the way that most people think about it. It's like thinking about cause and effect within a relational sense.
Okay. All right. And so you're assisting people to make a transition into a different mindset.
That's the hope, the goal. Yeah.
And
Because if you can't change your mindset, you're not going to be able to actually affect change.
Yep. That's right. That's right. So, Adam, do you have anything that you want to check in with Nick about in this
a few things come to
line?
mind as you're speaking already, and I know you have some similar background in also Taoism.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that the Taoist method of leadership can come into effect here?
Yeah, the Taoist. I mean,
Thinking of like when you say delegating, right? Then we're
Yeah.
letting go. You're using weakness. You're not controlling results. That's what I'm thinking of the Taoist philosophy in leadership. Did you see that come into your practice?
yeah. I mean, like Lao Tzu himself said, the greatest leaders think that leave the people thinking they did it themselves.
Yeah.
And that sort of mentality, it takes a great deal of strength to be able to do that, and skill. So I would say it's not. The risk when you enter into Taoism, as you know, I think, is it can sound on the surface like, well, I just need to like let things go and let things be and all of that, and that's true to some degree, but also at the same time, it's like, well, how can I create the skillful methods for people to blossom on their own? Like the same way I'm tending a garden. So if I just let my garden totally go, it's going to be weeds or whatever. But if I find a way to skillfully tend it, it's like the flowers grow on their own. So
Yeah, it's like an effort of effortlessness, right?
Exactly. Yeah, an effort of effortlessness. So that's a major, I think, thing for people to think about, which again goes back to what I think is the hard work of letting go, right? And the same thing on like the spiritual path. If you want to talk, I know Adam and I have talked about this at a deeper level. If you talk about like Wu Wei or emptiness or nature of mind, depending on what tradition you're using, at its heart, it's like a letting go of the things that we consider our essence, but are actually essences.
So you mean, and when you say letting go, it's letting go of an attachment. Is that right? Or even the idea of it.
Yeah, letting go of an attachment, I would say, is the main component.
Because when people are having trouble doing this mind shift, they're kind of invested in what they used to do, right?
Yeah, there's a story, and this goes, I think, to anybody in any field. There's a story that we tell ourselves that kind of reifies or makes stronger our position in the world.
Right.
I am a good blank, whatever that is.
But it's the I am.
Sort of self-perpetuate that. Yeah, exactly. So if you can kind of let go and allow that to dissipate, you'll find that on the other end there's not death or nihilism or a negativa. It's only, there's like a blossoming of a more full experience.
And I would offer to you that in the West, that's pretty scary for folks, isn't it?
Well, I think anywhere. Like the promise is it's hard because there's no promise of something else. So in ordinary life, it's like, well, if I let go of this thing,
then what? Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. So then you have to have a sort of trust or confidence to be able to let that go.
But that's where you come in as a coach. You kind of hold the space for the client, right? to say, well, let's go hang out over here, and it might seem like there's nothing there, but let's just notice what happens, right? Is that kind of the point?
That is definitely a function of it.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you still do a meditative practice, or do you teach a meditative practice?
I personally do meditation daily.
Okay.
I do teach some techniques.
Okay.
I don't think that it's like in my tradition, in Buddhism in particular, and Tibetan traditions specifically, meditation is a pretty serious endeavor, and it's geared toward not just like a worldly happiness, or not just like a calming, like a mindfulness calming, or like a confidence or something like that. Like those would be considered very worldly elements. So when I teach people elements of meditation, I think about it more along the lines of like stress relief, or maybe confidence building, things like that. And so I hesitate to even call them meditations. It's more along the lines of like affirmations and visualizations and sort of reflections.
But with Tibetan Buddhism, and I've looked at the Robert Thurman Jewel Tree of Tibet, and also I think its name is Alan Wallace, who is a physicist. Oh man! But they really get into a depthful appreciation and attempt to explain that this is a really very ancient, focused and structured in a way exploration of awareness. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, first I would say, I mean, if people are scholarly inclined, B. Alan Wallace is probably the preeminent scholar practitioner.
He's fantastic.
So I can't say enough about it. Actually, I've met him a couple times.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Wow.
A person of like real accomplishment.
Yeah.
So just a heavy endorsement for him. What he's talking about in a lot of his books is shamatha, which is, or in Tibetan it's called shine, which means like calm abiding. And so what that is what most people think of as meditation, which is there's an object of awareness. That could be breath, that could be visualization, it could be energy, whatever it is. And then there's your awareness, and then it's just training your awareness to be stabilized with that object of awareness. And once that happens, then all kinds of so-called mystical states can kind of unlock.
Well, let's unlock it after the break. I'm Anthony Wright, and I am your co-host with Adam Dietz. You can contact me at theonaut, theonaut.com. And Adam, how can people contact you?
At dietzadam@gmail.com, or you can find links to all my different socials and sites at thewaybetween@substack.com.
And our guest, Nick Egan, I know that you're on LinkedIn, but how else would you prefer that people contact you?
LinkedIn direct messages are great. Nick Egan, PhD at LinkedIn. You can also, if you're interested in leadership, executive coaching, shiftleadership.group is my company. And then you can reach me personally at nickeganphd.com.
Great. And that's at Gmail?
That's just, if you go onto nickeganphd.com, there's a form to contact.
All right, we're going to take a short break and be right back, so stay tuned.